Dark Souls is hard, right? Well, yes and no. It may come as no surprise that difficulty is relative to the player. If we look at new Souls players, it's clear that for them, yeah, Dark Souls is brutal. Even when looking at those with a moderate amount of experience with the series, oftentimes they will agree that the game gives them a good challenge. But what about the veterans? What about the people who have played through each Souls game a numerous amount of times? Those who know level design down to the item positions. Those who have a deep understanding of every boss's moveset. These people may very well argue that Dark Souls simply isn't hard, or at least for them. It may come off as elitist to even utter the statement that the Souls trilogy does not present a challenge. But for some, it's a fact of reality. And honestly, it's a bit of a shame. A lot of what makes the game so special is its difficulty. From my own personal experience, I almost hope to die the first time I take on a boss, because then I'll feel like I'm actually taking on a challenge. However, with enough time put into the games, you sort of just stop dying to the bosses. I remember watching a stream of Lobos doing his first run of Dark Souls 3, and he seemed genuinely disappointed whenever he beat a boss on his first try. This appears to be the plight of the veteran Souls player. No more challenge remains. So then the question becomes, are there ways to make the game more difficult? In short, yeah, there are quite a few ways to do this. But in this video, we are going to address one of my favorites, the Soul Level 1 run. I should preface that I'll be talking about Soul Level 1 runs, particular to Dark Souls 3, as it is the one I am most familiar with. Apologies to the Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 fans. So if you're newer to the Souls series, you may be asking, what's a Soul Level 1 run? Well, it's a challenge run where there are two rules. You have to choose Deprived as your starting class, and you can't level your character. It's known as a Soul Level 1 run since Deprived is the only class that starts at level 1, and since you can't level, it will remain that way throughout the entire game. Now while there is a lot I like about this challenge run, there are definitely some downsides to it that I would like to discuss. The first comes in the form of build variety. Difficulty isn't the only thing that makes Dark Souls fun. Designing your own build adds so much to the experience. However, due to stat requirements, playing as a Soul Level 1 character virtually bans you from using the weapons you want. You're forced to use a select handful, most of which are outdone by the Broadsword and the Dragon Slayer axe. And don't even think about using spells, because your selection there is limited as well. It's likely that you'll even find yourself using a similar ring setup to other SL1 players. It really is an unfortunate side effect to this challenge run, but one that can be overlooked if you're willing to do so. The other problem arises from the leap in difficulty. It's massive. I had never experienced being one-shot before by a boss until I took on this challenge run. Prepare to spend hours learning the ins and outs of every boss. This run will get you angry. Very angry. I do not dare repeat some of the things I yelled at my TV during the run. It was brutal. But that's enough of the bad. Let's get on to the good. To start, a Soul Level 1 run is one of the purest ways to restore the challenge experienced during a first playthrough. As I mentioned previously, the difficulty in Dark Souls is one of the things that makes it so fun. However, as your experience with the game mechanics grows, difficulty begins to decline. With enough playtime, the game no longer feels hard. You're left longing for the feeling of challenge presented by your first playthrough. That's where the appeal of the Soul Level 1 run resides. It promises you a challenge akin to when you first picked up the game. However, it will demand a lot more from you than a first playthrough. In a good way. The run requires you to deepen your knowledge of game mechanics. You're constantly aiming to maximize your character's potential without spending a single soul on levels. You'll start to look at how to optimize your routing. For example, most people would go to Pontiff right after Wolnir. However, it is actually more optimal to fight the Dancer before due to weapon upgrade capabilities. I find these small routing nuances to be so cool. And as I watch other people's Soul Level 1 runs, I learn so much more about how to maximize damage given while minimizing damage taken. This challenge not only tests your knowledge of the game, but it is also guaranteed to teach you new things. Throughout the run, you will learn every boss's entire moveset. In a normal playthrough of the game, you may become acquainted with the boss's general moveset, but overall you're probably just rolling and spamming. This strategy will not work in a Soul Level 1 run. You need to learn everything about the boss. You need to learn when you can punish. You need to learn when you can Estus. You may even see moves you have never seen the boss perform. This run is the best way to gain a complete knowledge of the bosses and their mechanics. At this point, I'm still yet to mention one of the biggest draws to this run, but I'm sure many of you can guess it. The sense of achievement. It's unparalleled. Nothing feels better than seeing Air of Fire destroyed after being absolutely abused by a boss for hours. It brings a mix of so many feelings. Relief, pride, joy. These feelings all wrapped up into one, combine into this overwhelming feeling of accomplishment. It is truly one of the most amazing feelings I have ever felt, and the only time I have ever felt it was during this run. Also, you can't forget the bragging rights you get for completing this insane challenge run. It really is an impressive thing to be able to say that you took a brutal game and made it even harder. But nevertheless, these are still just my takes, my opinions. So I thought it would be a good idea to go to r/1bros, a subreddit dedicated to discussing Soul Level 1 runs, and ask the community what makes an SL1 run so special. Here are some of the responses. Completing my first SL1 run is what really solidified the idea that I really knew the game inside and out, as well that I was my own best asset, not any weapon or item found in the game. I find it hard to go back to playing normally. I'm not sure why. SL1 is just challenging and thrilling in a way playing normally isn't anymore, in my opinion. Playing a leveled character after playing SL1 just feels underwhelming. The thing that stuck out to me about SL1 as opposed to other challenge runs is just how different it can be for everyone. Even though it's a challenge run that others have done before, your run will always feel unique because of the way Dark Souls allows you to power yourself up without leveling. I can't help but agree with all the things mentioned here. So in summary, a Soul Level 1 run, while brutal, is perhaps one of the best ways to experience the Souls trilogy. Thank you for watching.